It's your boy D Mac, and I'm back with part one to the interview, man. So I told you to stay tuned. We was setting up, getting ready, man. So I'm gonna be questioning about things in my life that took place, and y'all can stay tuned, man. Just listen, man.
D-Mac, what was like for you growing up as a young boy?
Oh, as a young boy, man, I was always adventurous, man. I enjoyed building things. I was always outside, athletic, into things. I always liked the trains, 18-wheelers, large machineries. Um, it was like a symbol of like strength that can't be stopped. So as a kid, I always feel like I couldn't be stopped. So I kind of took on that as a child, man, doing things that just couldn't be stopped, man. I felt like I couldn't be stopped. Anything I touched, I just wanted to master it. I wanted to be the best at it. So as a kid, man, I always wanted to succeed and do something good, stand out, be different from others. And all through school, that's what I wanted. So as a childhood, man, it started out one way, but I wouldn't say it ended that way.
Okay. What kind of family life did you have, and what roles did your mother and father play?
Well, I wouldn't say that my mother played a role at first until I moved with my grandparents. And while my mom attended school, I would go to my grandparents' house. And I attended school in their area, in their district. And while my mom was in school and working, I stayed with my grandparents until the fact that I just started going to school in their district. So my mom was there, but she wasn't there. My dad, he never was there. He was somewhere, but he wasn't in my life. So my grandfather really played a part as my father in my life. So that was the impact. My grandfather was my father. My grandmother was my mother in a sense. So that's who my parents were to me at the time as a kid. That's how I looked at it.
Okay. So would you say that your grandfather and grandmother was your role model?
Yes, I would. You know what I'm saying? Because my grandfather was like an auto mechanic, and I loved doing things with my hands. You know, I didn't mind getting oily and things like that. So yeah, and my grandfather was my role model.
Okay, good. What type of things did you see as a young boy that stuck with you?
As a young boy, I seen things around me. Um, like my grandfather being an auto mechanic, I always being a hardworking man, and he took care of my grandmother. My grandmother was like a stay-at-home mom, so she took care of us and all the grandkids, and we just attend school and all the other things, shopping and stuff. My grandmother handled all that. My grandfather did all the work, and he was the only source of income. So like I watched my grandfather take care of my grandmother, take care of all of us, and that was like a inspiration of what a real man was, and that's what I wanted to be. All growing up was like a real man. So like my grandparents, especially my grandfather, was like a big role model to me, man. My grandfather slash my brother a little bit because my big brother is like the opposite of my grandfather. You know, he was more into the streets or drugs or something like that. So I guess it was like my grandfather and my brother kind of half and half was like the men that I really looked up to. You know, I really believed in them. Like I really wanted to be them. So yeah, that's how I felt about my grandparents and my brother as far as role models. I never really looked up to nobody in the streets or rappers or nothing like that. I always looked at my grandfather or my big brother. Those are my role models. So I kind of grew up in those images, and that's all I look for. I didn't look for no other role models, no rappers, no basketball players, no nothing. It was my grandfather or my brother. You know, them the only role models I ever had.
Okay, good. What type of friends did you have, and were you a part of any gangs?
Um, I I wouldn't say I was considered like a part of a real gang, but I did lean towards my brother. That was a Black Stone, and that's a kind of like a part of Vice Lord's Nation, and it was red and black, and I took on that just like an inheritor. You know, I wanted to follow my big brother. That was my role model. That was who I looked up to. So yeah, I took on that. So most of the younger boys that was in school with me, elementary school, we claimed red and black, and the guys that was on the other side that was blue and black, and they were my friends. So like um, everybody in my area was pretty much the same people, same thing, same gang. So them the people that I ran with and hung with in school, even though when we went to middle school, some of the guys that used to be red and black, they was blue and black. And some people that was blue and black was red and black. So it was like crazy once you got on into middle school. And that was like a whole nother level when you get to middle school and you start being something because it get more serious. So it's like the older you get, the gangs get more serious. You know, you start to realize how serious it is until you start fighting for it. You know, it becomes like a territory you can and can't go. So like in our area with certain stores we can go to, you know, because if we went across the tracks to the other store, we were less likely to get jumped or we had to fight. You know, we getting chased. It was more like just like if we caught some people that was from their gang at our store or at our park or at our school for a football game, basketball game, anything. We was fighting because it was like territory. You know, you couldn't come in our territory. So it was just like growing up in South Central or something. You know, it was like serious. Like we couldn't go to certain schools. We couldn't go to certain areas, certain parks. You couldn't go. You couldn't wear your hat this way and go on that street. You couldn't wear your hat this way and go on that street. It was just like that. I didn't care. You know, it wasn't like they would look at you like, oh, you 12 years old. Oh, you this old. It would never, age was never a factor in this. If you was down with this gang, all the above. It wasn't, oh, you too young, or it wasn't, oh, you too young. You was in. If you had your hat kicked one way or you had on a certain color, you in it. That means you understand. When you put the colors on, you understand. And you won't understand if you didn't. So like growing up, and I kept that, you know. It was certain places I could and couldn't go. I understood, and then it was places that people couldn't go, you know. And I soon did end up having a best friend, and he was from the opposite side, blue and black. And we started out actually chasing him, man. You know, we were really enemies, man. And on down the line, we became friends. But in the beginning, we was enemies. We were rivals, you know.
Wow. All right. At what age were you first arrested as a young boy, and what were you arrested for?
First time I was ever arrested, I would say my first time ever being arrested was for auto theft, man. We was out, I learned how to steal cars, and we was out joyriding in a stolen car, and we got caught. The police chased us. We ended up getting caught, and I went to the detention. I had went to the detention center, man. I had to be like almost 12, you know, 11 years old. I had. By my grandfather raising us, man, young, I had been driving because he had owned auto shops, man. So he had been taught me how to drive. So when I learned how to drive, I told my friends, man, we can go steal a car, you know. So we went and stole a car, and we was riding. And when the police got behind us, we jumped out the car, running, jumping fences. But of course, we got caught. And it was my first time ever getting in trouble. And, you know, I was like 11 years old, so it wasn't much they can do to us. But we did go to the detention center, though. So I went the first time I was like 11, and it was for auto theft. Wow. It was my first time.
Wow. That's so young. Looking back on those years as a young boy, do you feel you were out of control?
Looking back, yeah. I was out of control because, like, when I started out, I really wanted to drive trucks. I really liked the trains. I liked it, you know, 18-wheelers, big heavy machinery, you know, when the people ride by and pull the thing, boom, boom. You know, that was like my thing. I was like, I want to drive trucks. And it didn't turn out like that, man. Once I got that adrenaline rush from stealing cars and going to jail. Well, went to the detention center, got out, and it's like it just gave me a different feeling about things. And after that, um, I decided like, hey, it wasn't that bad. Like going to jail, running from the police, it was kind of fun. So like when it became kind of fun, it became like a life adventure. And it just started from that, man. That one time, it started from that. And when I went to the detention center, man, I remember a guy in there, head, man, Osalie Brown, man. He told me, he said, man, this your first time coming? I was like, yeah. He said, man, let me tell you, when you come in here, he said, man, I remember my first time coming. He said, man, I was just like you saying I wasn't going to come back. He said, man, then every time I turned around, I was up in here. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I ain't lying. Shortly after that, I was back in there.
You was back in
I was back in there.
Wow.
So, like, it became like almost a habit. It wasn't like a scare tactic no more. I wasn't afraid of it. Like, I knew when I was doing something that I knew where I was going. So I didn't worry about it getting caught no more. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a life adventure after that. Once I got over the fear of going to jail, I didn't care about the crime I would commit no more. Because I knew where I was going. I had went so much, I learned, I ended up knowing the guards when I get there. They knew me by face, by name. So it took off, man. It took off, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what do you think as a young boy led to these behavior issues? And was any of your family into crime?
What I would say led to it, my oldest brother. I watch my family. Well, I watch my favorite aunt, man, Thelma, and my grandmother raised my oldest brother because they like took my mom and my aunt first child, which was my oldest brother Kenny and my oldest first cousin Tasha, and my grandmother and them took them and took us too. And we was like, when her mom was in school, my mom was in school. We was young, so like my oldest brother was into selling drugs, and no one in the family knew. When they thought he'll be at school, he'll be next door selling drugs. Like he like 16, you know, he like 15, 16 years old. So my family didn't have the slightest idea that my oldest brother was selling drugs. But like from me being a little brother and my brother wanting to expose what he was doing, he used to have me in his room and he'd show me money, like little stacks of money, you know, watching my brother with the money. So I'm like, man, as a big brother, you know, I looked up to my big brother. And my big brother used to have the money, and of course, you know, I wanted the money. You know what I'm saying? I remember being in there, and my brother, if you can snatch this $20 bill, you can have it. And you know, I'm like, bro, I snatched the money. He like, you better give it back. I was like, I'm gonna tell grandma. Yeah. So he let me keep the money, you know. But of course, I had to spend it in secret because my grandmother, you know, somebody would know what you doing with $20. You know, where you get that from? So I didn't want to get my big brother in trouble. So like, I realized my brother was into selling drugs, crack cocaine, you know. My family eventually found out he was selling crack cocaine, and it just, that wasn't when drugs entered the family, but I started to like look up to my brother from a different aspect of life then, like, oh, my brother a drug dealer, my brother got money. So like, that was a whole nother area in life for me, because now I feel like I can go to jail and it ain't that big of a deal.
Right.
I got a big brother that's into drugs. If you mess with me, it's gonna be some. And people, the junkies in the street, knew who my big brother was. So it was like an adventure. It was like, you can't be stopped, you can't be touched. And soon after that, that's how I felt, man. I took on that feeling. Like, I remember feeling like that, like, I can't be stopped. I can't be touched. You know, you mess with me, I'm gonna call my brother. You know, if anything else, if you mess with me, I'm gonna call my family. You know, so it was just like a characteristic that I took on after being around them. Man, money became power.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and people knew who I belonged to. You know, I could go in different areas. Some of my friends were picked on, and some guys, some of the younger boys were jumped on, but they didn't mess with me because of who my brother was, who my family was, because my family was involved in the streets. They was involved in drugs. They was involved in a lot of things, and they knew like if we mess with him, they coming. So that was like another form of power. That's another reason I didn't fear nothing. I didn't feel fear. You know, I don't remember ever feeling fear young. I don't remember being scared of nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like I lived it out. I lived that life like that.
Wow.
So
Um, who else in your family was in crimes and things like that?
well, my uncle, ever since I know my uncle Rudy, um, he always been on crack cocaine. Him, my aunt Angie, um, she was on drugs. Her husband, um, she was the first person to introduce me into stealing because my brother was selling drugs. She was on drugs, so she taught me how to steal because my grandma used to keep my brother money, and my auntie knew it. So she'll have me stealing the money from my grandma because it was my brother money that my grandma was keeping and hiding for him. So like my auntie was like the first person to teach me how to steal. So I didn't learn how to steal in the streets. I didn't learn like how to do these things. Like when I was stealing cars, I started stealing cars, I had already knew how to steal because my auntie used to have me stealing my brother drug money from my grandma.
Wow.
So it was like an in-house thing, you know what I'm saying? When I look back now, it was all in-house. Like my auntie was into stealing. She was on drugs. She was stealing from my grandparents because she was on it. My uncle never stole from my grandparents, but he was stealing in the streets. You know what I'm saying? So it was really like an in-house thing.
That's a lot. So I do know you keep mentioning your grandparents a lot. Where was your mother at this point?
At this point, man, my mother was living in her own house with my stepdad, which is my sister's father. And the school we went to was in my grandmother's district, Jen Smith Elementary. And my mom stayed in Bernadician. I would end up going to Walton Elementary. But since my mom and my big brother and them all went to Jen Smith and Brinkley and all that, and the teachers knew them all, we stayed there. So I eventually went from going to school in my grandma's district to just living at my grandma's house. So that's like when my mom and I kind of, because I just ended up staying with my grandparents because we was going to school in this district. Instead of her driving us back and forth, dropping us off every day, we just kept bringing clothes till we had enough clothes. And my grandma like, you know what? They can just stay here. So at this time, my mom was working at Dairy Queen, a manager, and going to college. So I remember going home with my mama sometimes and opening the refrigerator. There's a brain in there, She's studying in college. I'm like, Mama, what is in the jar? It's a whole animal brain, So like my mom was always into school. I always seen my mom like working or school, like never seeing her just sitting around and not doing something. She was always into something. So since my grandma was a stay-at-home mom, she had the grandkids. So my mom really kind of lived like she didn't have no kids because my big brother grew up in my grandma's house and stayed with her. And I did. And my cousin Tasha, she was the first. She stayed there. So we really was all at grandma's house. So it was like my mom and my auntie didn't have no kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So where's your mom today?
I lost my mom when I was like 12 years old. It was 12. I lost my mom at 12 going on 13 because it was like after 12 going on 13. My birthday at the end of the year in November, so I stay aged. When my birthday hit, it's almost a new year. So like with my mom and losing my mom, it was like 12 going into 13, like November finna change to another year. It was like going into that. So like it was right like a year, maybe 2 months before I end up going to jail that I lost my mom, because it was like after I lost my mom, my grandparents kind of felt like I was acting out, so they didn't really discipline me. They went hard on me. They feel like he just lost his mom. You know, I lost my favorite aunt a year before, so it was like that was who took us on trips every summer. You know, this was my favorite aunt. You know, Christian. You know, no rules breaking, no law, no cursing, no yeah, you gonna do the right thing with her. So when I lost her, that was like somebody that's gonna discipline you. We didn't play with her. And then when I lost my mom, it was just like the following year. And it was just a spiral. It was just like boom, boom. And I'm like, man. And then it's like our sense of care kind of. And then I just found myself just living. Like I don't remember caring about nothing. I don't remember being afraid of nothing. I don't remember ever thinking about stopping. Never thought about stop. I never thought about changing. I never seen nothing wrong with the way I was living.
Wow. That's deep. So how many kids did your grandparents have, and are they living today? Are they still
My
living?
grandmother and grandfather had 5 kids. 1 boy, 4 girls. My grandmother lost all her girls. My mom, including my 3 aunties, are deceased. My uncle that I told you, was on drugs. He's still living, and he's currently on drugs, still living with her. He's almost 60. My grandma's 80 years old, living in the same house. She been in the same house since 57. She moved to Jackson in 57. She been there ever since. Nothing's pretty much changed except death. People have went away, but the drugs still there. My uncle's still on drugs. My cousins that end up on drugs and using them, they still on them. So nothing's really changed except me. So that's why I'm here now doing this interview, because like nothing changed. Like to this day, nothing changed but me. Yeah, so that's what this about. That's what this about.
Okay, all right. What about your siblings? Where are they today?
Man,
Were you close to them or anything like that?
well, my sisters, I don't know, because we have different fathers that we wasn't close, or because I always was in jail, or I was always into something that they felt distant or didn't feel the connection with me, that we aren't just close, but we don't really communicate on a day-to-day basis now. So I pretty much my family is like one of those families that we only communicate when something bad happens. Like it was a death in the family, we all see each other, come together, bury our loved ones, and then we go back to being strangers. So like, I'm more close to this interview than my own sisters and brothers. And I know that might sound crazy, but hey, I can talk to the interview, but I can't talk to my siblings. Yeah. So.
Do you wish it was different?
Most definitely, man. I love my sisters. I love my brother. I mean, if I could change it, I would, Yeah, if I could change it, I would.
Okay, good. Okay, as a young boy, do you remember how you were in school? What schools did you go to?
Yes, I remember. As a kid, I went to Jen Smith to start out with. I got kicked out of elementary, staying in so much trouble. I went to Walton Elementary, and I went to Walton Elementary being in an in-school suspension. It was a program they had for troubled kids that only that school had. So I went to this school in these classes in elementary with kids that was from other schools that was in trouble constantly. So I was around other troubled kids that had been kicked out of other elementary schools. It was girls in there too. And I went there. I went to school. So I went through my middle schools. I started out in Brinkley. I went to Hardy Middle School. I went to People's Middle School. I was kicked out of all these schools. Like, when I tell you I didn't stop, I didn't stop. I wasn't scared. And like I told you, when it's like I started feeling like I had nothing to lose. It was like I went to feeling like Nobody cared. And like I said, my grandparents wasn't hard on us, you know. After we lost like our parents or whatever, you know, they kind of was lenient. And they feel like we was acting out. So, you know, I ended up with a counselor. I ended up going to I ended up seeing a therapist like twice a month. My grandma used to take me to see Miss Delilah. And I go see her, a psychiatrist, twice a month. You know, she asks me all kind of questions. You know, like, you know, kind of like the questions you asking, or have you ever thought about killing yourself, stuff like that. And I went to see her so much till I used to go in there and ask her, did she ever think about killing herself? You know what I'm saying? So I had, it was upsetting to my grandma because like she'll interview me, she'll talk to me first, and then she'll talk to my grandma before we leave. And of course she'll get that talk on the way home, like, what did you tell that lady?
Yeah.
And I was like, I ain't tell that lady nothing. You hear me? What is it? And so my grandma was just so outdone with me in the way I did things because my grandmother really wanted me to change. She really wanted to save me. She didn't want to lose me. She didn't want to lose my siblings. She didn't want to lose any of us. Like my grandma really, really cared. So like she tried everything, and that's why I was going to the psychiatrist. She was trying to reach me like, what's wrong with you? Why are you into everything?
Right.
So like, I can honestly say she tried. You know, she tried everything to change the way I think, change the way I was acting, and I just did not care. I ain't care.
Okay. Wow. Were you disciplined at any point? No discipline. Never got a whooping or.
As a kid, I might have got a whooping or something, but as I got up to like 12 and 13, after my mom died, no. It was just always, people felt like I was acting out because he lost his mama. And, you know, he just acting out. You know, you heard the counselor say that. You heard the psychiatrist say that. So after people say that so much, everybody had pity that he lost his mom young. So he acting out. But I kept going wrong. I kept doing things. I kept getting in trouble. And it got worse. It just kept getting worse. Like, it didn't never get better. Never got better. Yeah. And I just had wanted to do this interview because, you know, I wanted to let people know, you know, like where I come from and how long it's been going on. Like this is not something that just happened, you know. This was like a way of life for me, you know. You got people that get, you know, do things like listen to rap music. You know, they blame rappers for the way people are, but I don't necessarily believe, you know, blame rappers, man. This was the way I was. This is the way I felt. I acted and lived this out.
Right.
So it's not like I playing this. It's the way I felt. It's the way I live. You know what I'm saying? And I contacted people, and I decided that, you know, I wanted people to hear this interview and find out that I know sometimes it starts with self. It starts with growing up, and it starts with the way you're thinking. And I can honestly tell you at this point, I don't ever remember caring. I don't ever remember wanting to do better. I don't ever remember wanting to change. I thought I was okay. I thought I was perfect, and everybody else was messed up. So that's what that was, man. I can honestly tell you that's how it was. It wasn't no other way. It was my way or no way. So that's why, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing now, you know. And if this gonna be the conclusion of part one to the interview, then this me and my childhood and under, you know. And this where I'm at with it, you know. So until part two, see D-Max channel. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe, hit that like button, and stay tuned, man, till I give you part two, man. D-Max story, man, for real. Interview. Salute.